beautiful day as always. And we are grateful to God for giving us another day that we meet here on Morning Prime. It is the last day of July. How time flies. And of course, from here is going to be now downhill, going towards Christmas. I'm glad that you're joining us today, that we have a well-packed show for us. Global Today is coming momentarily your way, where we take a critical analysis on foreign policy, security, geopolitics, diplomacy, and of course, what is happening around the region as far as geopolitics is concerned. We have Abed Hashi, who is joining us this morning as a governance and policy analyst. We have also with us Dr. Hassan Kanenje. How are you, sir?
I am fine. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yes, good to see
Up
you.
and early.
Good morning, Deborah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I missed
Nah,
the last show. I'm telling you.
Yes, good to see you. I think you are suffering from a flu.
Yeah, there's this thing going around the city. And so, but I did not know that I was still very young and very strong and everything went well. Nilikunywa supu ya ngamia na nikaamuka kabisa. Nikakuwa sawa kabisa.
We missed you though.
I'm glad to be missed. The whole country, Deborah, is in the frying pan.
All right, you can tell us more about that. Dr. Hassan Kanenje.
Yes.
Today we almost missed you by whiskers, huh?
Yeah, that's correct. But,
Yes.
you know, I made it.
You don't know, you don't want to tell us what you're up to.
Well, in the course of the session.
In the course of the session, we'll
Yes.
know. Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
We're eagerly waiting to be joined by Dr. Of course, Ken Obongi, and also we'll be joined by Professor Peter Kagwanja, and we'll have a full-packed show. You get to drive a show with us as well. All you can do is head over to our X handle at KTN News, is our X handle at DeBellanair. You can follow me there. But let's see how the weather will be today. All right, let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard today. Taming false prophets is what we have as a splash today. Religion on trial. Government is introducing radical measures that seek to put an end to cultism, devil worship, and nefarious religious activities being pushed by men and women of dubious character. The measures include fresh registration, enactment of new laws, and prescribing punishment for outrageous belief systems. You have a story on page 4 and 5 and 6 of today's publication. And maybe you can highlight some of the recommendations that are put here on the front page of the Standard. So there's going to be, or it's being recommended that there should be a radical surgery on policy, legal, institutional, and administrative measures on religious organizations. Deliberate policy measures to curb extremism, sects, cults, and other similar outfits. Also distinct statutes, which clearly assigns a legal personality to the organizations, lay down registrations requirements, and provides for offenses committed under the pretext of religion. Also standards and minimum certification requirements for religious organizations and leaders. And you can read the rest of the recommendations inside the Daily today. This is the Standard. Dorcas Oduor it is. Ruto nominates first woman AG. After decades of defending the state as a counsel and prosecutor, Oduor is an interview away from writing history. And that will be happening tomorrow. You have a story on page 2 of the publication today. And leaders split on talk of DP impeachment. Kenya Kwanza leaders are seeking the president to come out and they're asking the president to come out and state his position on the looming confidence vote against his deputy. This story is tucked away on page 8 of the publication today. Let's see what the teaser is holding for us. Teachers threaten strike over salary dispute is a story that you want to follow inside the publication today. And it says government is introducing radical measures. All right, I missed it there. Still on the national pages there. Teachers threaten to strike over salary disputes. Venezuela rocked by polls protests. That is on page 21 of the Standard. EABL profit drops 12% on inflation. And this is on business pages of the Standard today. Paris effect on Kipchoge versus Bekele duel. That is the Standard today. This is how it looks. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Allow me to just flip over there quickly. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Daily Nation today. It says Gachagwa's aides quizzed by police. A former governor and a prominent Nairobi MP have also been interrogated over the same. Under siege, 3 close aides of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua were yesterday questioned by detectives over alleged links to the recent youth-led protests that forced President William Ruto to make major concessions, among them withdrawal of finance bill and dissolution of his cabinet. This even as talk of an impeachment motion against the DP persists. You have a story on page 4 of the publication today. And the rise of Dorcas Oduor. The senior counsel will become the country's first woman Attorney General if approved by MPs following her nomination by President Ruto. And you have a story on page, that is on page 2 of the Daily Nation today, taking the lead. The move will also add to the growing list of women leading critical institutions in Kenya or in Kenya's justice system. Let me try and zoom in so that we can read together. Alongside Chief Justice Martha Koome, I should say, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, and Chief Registrar of the Judiciary Winfrida Mokaya, and now Miss Oduor. Task Force wants new tough laws for religious groups. This is on the back page of the Daily Nation today. Task Force has recommended the establishment of a Religious Affairs Commission, as well as the adoption of a hybrid model comprising self-regulation and government oversight. You can read the rest of the details on the back page of the Daily Nation. Also on the side, but there are secrets of coup that changed Kenya forever. Who was behind the breach on President Daniel Arap Moi's security detail? 2 days to the abortive August 1st, 1982 coup. Who pulled the trigger? on mutineer Air Force soldiers at the Eastleigh Air Base. On the 42nd anniversary of the failed putsch, we bring you the untold story of how security chiefs postponed the arrest of coup plotters, setting the stage for a bloody coup. That was a coup d'etat that pushed our country to the brink. And you can read all about it inside the Daily Nation this morning. Let's bring up the Star. And this is what is on the front page of the Star today. Inside Adani, 240 billion shillings plan to overhaul JKA is what is holding as the splash this morning. You have an exclusive here. The investors' proposals lay out an ambitious plan to transform JKA. Adani offers to pay KAA 6 billion shillings yearly for the first 5 years and 6.7 billion shillings by 2035. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. CS Attorney General nominee, and of course we have also CS nominee for EAC. This is Dorcas Oduor, Secretary of Public Prosecutions at ODPP, prosecutor for over 20 years, holds a master's degree in international conflict management from University of Nairobi, a commissioner at the Kenya Law Reform Commission, hails from Siaya County, and we do have also CS nominee for EAC there, Beatrice Askul, former Turkana CEC, member of ODM Election Board, former director of the Rift Valley Water Services Board, former chairperson of the Technical Committee of the Valley Water Services Board, has a master's degree in governance and ethics. You can read the rest of the details inside the Star. And on top there, Gachagua close allies grill over funding of Gen Z protest. This is what is on page 6 of the Star this morning. People Daily, Gachagua trio grilled over Gen Z demos is the splash. Detectives visit DP's current office to probe claims that his top aides finance chaos in anti-Ruto protest by youths demanding accountability in use of public funds and good governance. You have a story on page 6 of the publication today. And on the horns of a tiger, all right, on the horns of a tiger there, we have the faces, Ngunjiri Wambugu and George Aderi. This is some of the suspects that have been grilled by the DCI of Gen Z's demos. You can follow the story on page 6 of the publication today. And why Ruto picked Oduor for AG? By settling on women to fill vacancies in cabinet, President appeared to address concerns over 2/3 gender requirement. That story, you can follow it inside the publication this morning. That is the People Daily. Taifa Leo Gachagua amulikwa is a splash. You can follow the story on page 2. And Munga transfers 1 billion shillings Britam shares in new trade. That is what we have on the front page of the People Daily, not the People Daily, but the Business Daily this morning. And it says that billionaire businessman Peter Munga has moved part of his Britam shares into a new investment vehicle, signaling a plan to either sell part of a stake or succession planning on his estate. And you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication today. Juja leads Nairobi satellite towns in land price growth is another story you can follow on page 2 of the publication. Record 26 firms go into administration in just 12 months. Let me try and zoom in so that we can read together there what the ticker is holding for us there. And it says a record 26 firms went into administration in the year to June 2024. Records show, underlining the increasing struggles for companies to stay afloat in a tough business environment underpinned by stiff competition, high taxation, and increasing interest rates. EABL dividend up 27% after posting softer decline in profit. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross over to Uganda, where Striking Nation is a splash. Different strokes, different folks. First were health workers sick of malnourished salaries. Then came the teachers marking down their pay slips. Now medical interns frustrated by lack of work are in the streets alongside anti-corruption protesters. Downtown, traders offering no change in the dispute with taxmen are threatening to shut shop again. Are these common nuisance or signs of deeper problems? That is the budding question there on the flagger or the sub-headline. You can read the story inside the publication today. And you can see also traders to close shops, intern doctors stranded at home, anti-corruption battles on streets. And you can follow the story on page 4 of the publication today if you're waking up in Uganda this morning. And police bank on DNA test to decode mystery skulls. Right, around 17 skulls were discovered by police. And this is what the police are doggedly following on to find out what really happened or who are the culprits behind the macabre killings. This is the Daily Monitor in Uganda, Tanzania. We have the Citizen. Who is the next CCM vice chair? That is the probing question on the front page of the Citizen. As Abdul Rahman Kinana exits the door, analysts suggest some veteran politicians as potential successors of the ruling party's vice chairperson role in what remains a discreet CCM affairs ahead of the civic polls later this year and the general election in 2025. You can follow the story inside the publication today. Plan to retain doctors in public healthcare also is another story that continues on page 2 of the Citizen this morning. In Rwanda, private vets take over government roles. Are they prepared? Rwanda requires 13,539 vets. Only 5,000 were registered by 2023. And you can follow this story on page 3 of the publication today. Rwanda Trade Fair 2024 officially kicks off in Kigali. And you can see Trade and Industry Minister. This is none other than Jean Chrysostom Gabitsinze and other officials during tour of the 2024 Rwanda International Trade Fair. And you can read the rest of the story inside the New Times. If you're waking up in Rwanda, hiking in Rwanda, a fun activity worth the pain, also is on page 5 of the publication. The East Africa this week is focusing on Samia and Samia's political chess game ahead of the electioneering season. A Stana president is enforcing loyalty and efficiency among state officials, as seen in the latest reshuffles. You can follow the story on page 4 and 5 of the East African this week. Fresh sanctions for armed groups in North Kivu is another story. US singles out Congo River Alliance for fueling conflict. That is on page 2 of the East African this week. Ethiopia not welcome here. This is what Asmara is saying. Authorities accuse airline of predatory practices, and you can follow the story on page 6 of the publication today. The Economist, can she win? And this is the face of Kamala Harris. That is on the front page of the publication. Summer reading also from 1843 magazine is tucked away inside the Economist. That is the latest publication. And Time are telling, of course, cover there. No splash, but in comes Kamala Harris. Out goes Biden. That is what the Time magazine is holding. And the week as well, Biden leaves the race. Is Harris a winning candidate? That is a probing question. This is the week, the UK edition, and the US edition is holding this splash. The handoff. Has Harris got what it takes to beat Trump? That is the abiding question. And you can grab a copy of the week as well. Let's see what Daily Talk Cartoons is holding for us. Third impeachment motion, fourth impeachment motion. It continues apace for the governor of Meru. And this is none other than Kawira Mwangaza. Now that there is an attempt to impeach her again, that is what Victor has drawn inside the Daily Nation today. ODM. Tuachie wakule hiyo D. That is what ODM is all about now. right? The ODMs. So they've taken the O and the M, and they've left the D. I leave it for you to decipher that. This is what Gams has drawn today inside the Standard today. And return to normalcy. As you can see there, the president is back on the ground with Meet the People tours, the town hall meetings, and many promises, or bag of promises, saddling or saddle on his back. As you can see also, as the Mount Kenya politics continues apace there as well, this is what has been drawn by Ozone inside the Star this morning. And I need some more. This is all about cabinet and the Western region, who are seeking for more seats. The Western Kenya leaders. This is what Stano has captured for us this morning inside the People Daily. I don't know. Let me try and get our guests to come and also just give their input there. Begin with you, Hamid Ashi. Good morning.
Good morning, Debal. Good morning to my friends. Debal, the great baseball giant, the New York Yankees, was called Yogi Berra, said it's deja vu all over again. Deja vu, of course, is, Debal, as you know, when you feel that something that you have dreamt of or felt actually happens in real life. And then when it's deja vu all over again, it means it's a vicious cycle of remembrance. Debal, the political class in our country has turned out to be what the late Robert Nesta Marley, the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley, used to call vampires. And Debal, the chief vampire among the political class today is Mr. Odinga. And Debal, it is a scandal from beginning to end that a man who's been associated with progressive politics in this country has absolutely stood up and said, look at me, I have no clothes on, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. And the whole country is aghast. Many of us understood and knew many things, but because of issues that we thought were more progressive for this country, we looked the other way. But it is very difficult today to look the other way, Debal. This is not a betrayal. It is, I remember Mo used to say, unajikaranga na mafuta yako. I think not only has the last, and I was part of it, and some of the members, my friends who are sitting here were part of that political party. We created a social democratic party that turned this country upside down, brought a constitution, brought all these gender issues that people are talking about, brought the counties. Many of the progressive people in this country went into that political party debate because of the ideals we had. Mm-hmm. Of course, we decided that Mr. Odinga should be the head of this team because he had played an important part in the second liberation. Debal, however, it has turned out that his credentials, Debal, are no longer there. You can see that Debal, the appointments that he has taken to Mr. Ruto, the man who said that, you know, he would never have anything to do with Mr. Kitendawili. And lo and behold, Debal, there's a government of Nusum Kate in this country again. There's a government of Nusum Kate wrapped up in a handshake. So they took everything bad that happened before and they added it together. Debal, I think this is very good for the overwhelming majority of the people of this country and the General Z to see how decayed the political class in this country is. And Debal, I think that they're all going to be swept from power come 2027. And the question that we have today, Debal, is whether or not they should be swept out of power now or they should be swept out of power in the coming elections. Now, the General Z, Debal, have a different idea about that. Many of us have different ideas about that. But Debal, I find it that, I find it really, really, I find it a very sad thing that Mr. Gachagua, who I've opposed from day one, as you remember from this show, There are people who are saying that his lieutenants are the ones who have planned the General Z changes or demonstrations. Mr. Gachagua could not plan his own deputy president's office. How is he going to plan this revolution that is going on in this country? I mean, it's pathetic. I think it's very important that we expose these illegitimacy in this country. And Debal, I put it to you that this is going to pour more fuel into an already terrible situation that we have in this country. And you can see, Debal, if you want to know the telltale signs of a revolution, is that the General Z demonstrations are being exported. They're being exported to Uganda. They're being exported to Nigeria. They're being exported everywhere. Debal, on August 8th, I think there'll be a reckoning in this country.
Right. Let me just introduce also Professor Peter Kagwanja and Dr. Ken Obongi, who have joined us much later. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Debal, and good morning, my colleagues. It's good to be here on a Wednesday morning. We always feel good. It tells you the week is ripe and ready for business. Well, I think what really excites me is what I would call the play-out of the Moi script in all this game. It's, as a historian, with this advantage of sitting on a historical hill and looking at the actors down there and looking at what is new, there's absolutely nothing new. Reminds me of the French historian Tocqueville, de Tocqueville, who said that the more we imagine that we're in a revolutionary setup, the more we harken back and look, and copy and paste all what we've been doing in the past. So for him, there was absolutely nothing new in the French Revolution, particularly after it started waning out. Here, we have President William Ruto as the spider weaving the web, falling back on the Moi script more recently, but using old and known divide and rule tricks. And that is the game. There is nothing else. Use and dump a strategy against allies, praying tribe against tribe, praying individuals, regions against regions, and therefore staying in power. It's an old Machiavellian trick of retaining power, because it's easier sometimes to gain power, but extremely difficult to keep it. Because power is like a ball, you must pass it on. But it matters how long you're going to stay with the ball. That's what determines a prayer. How long do you stay with it without being either brought down or without dropping it and passing it to the next person. So the game now is, how does President Ruto retain power, particularly against the backdrop of the Gen Z revolution or revolt? And that's the big things. So we've heard about Gachagua's impeachment. Let me argue that this is not new. We knew Gachagua, if the constitution is not the way it is, he would have gone the second day after Ruto's coronation. Why? It's the rule of the game that if you are a kingmaker, you are the first to be beheaded. So from the beginning, Gachagua knew that his head was on the chopping board. And why has he stayed for too long? Because the constitution protected his position. Why is it going to be too expensive for him to be impeached? Because it is a law. It is constitutionalism versus political expediency within the UDA system. So, in a sense, if you are surprised that Gachagua is being impeached, then you can only argue that you are naive, you are ignorant, and possibly a political novice in this country. Gachagua, in the first place, was conceived within the UDA setup as a gladiator. He only could take on Uhuru Kenyatta, and paired with Moses Kuria, it was easy to basically, bring Kenyatta down. After we brought Goliath down, which is Uhuru Kenyatta, then Kuria is dropped from cabinet. And Gachagua now has to be impeached because the work is over. Uhuru Kenyatta is no longer a factor in any big way in Mount Kenya politics. So I'm not surprised that that has happened. Now, after the use and dump of Kuria, then we now see attempt now to dump Gachagua, which is going to be more laborious. Does it remind you of Charles Jonjo and the inquiry in 1983? Does it remind you of Gigi Karaoke? Does it remind you of the eminence grises of the Moi era, the Kikuyu eminence grises of Kikuyu era, who were used by Moi to deal with Charles Jonjo, later on to deal with Mwai Kibaki, later on to deal with Josephat Karanja. This is really a good history in the making, and I really relishing in it, just reminding me of how important it is to know your history, so that when people imagine that they are doing things that are new, then you can always remind them that we have seen Jonjo. We saw the coup, the 1982 coup, orchestrated deliberately in order to change the security apparatus. Somewhere in Muranga, in Nyeri, I think during the agricultural show in Nyeri, Moi was told, Ochuka, and a group of Air Force people want to topple you. And he said, wacha wajaribu. And the rest of the script is familiar. Then you remove, you use that as an excuse to remove, clean the whole security apparatus, replace the Kambas who were made by the British as the Macho, they're called the Macho tribe. Replace them with the Karenjins. You remove those who were in prison and you replace them with others. And essentially, you change the whole regime. So after 1983, after 1982 coup, up to 1986, what are we seeing? The cleaning up of the security apparatus. What are we expecting from the Ruto regime from now? It's a use of the Ruo, the new detente with Raila Odinga to literally turn back the wheel of democracy. It's going to be painful for Kenya, but this is inevitable.
All right, let's hear from Dr. Ken Obongi. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Diba.
Right, I'm just seeing Dorcas Oduor. I wonder if she was your student at some point?
Well, she must have been if she did her degree in diplomacy and international relations, as I saw.
She was our student.
But Diba is a very inventive week, actually, both here at home and away. And the interesting thing is that in both ways, at home and away, it looks like it's a very lucky week for women. At home, we have a female prosecutor for Attorney General nominated to be vetted by Parliament. Away, we have a female prosecutor for president in the United States, and both of them. One of them is pure African, and another one has some African blood flowing in our veins. So in a sense, African women are rising. Now, let's come closer home, to the events that are happening. To put it very simply, Moi has been reborn. Then we need to celebrate some birthday of some kind. Because for those of us who partly lived during the Moi administration, it's like we are in a dream, because everything that we used to see and hear in His Excellency President Moi's time, I've just come back. And I think I was not wrong a few months back when I said one of the very key characteristics of the Ruto presidency is actually the Moi reincarnation in terms of the tactics. You see, we have pushed the country back to its default mode, where ethnicity makes or destroys you. When you look at, we have taken recourse to our ethnic cocoons. People are now meeting as Luyas. I don't know whether you were part of the group that met. People are meeting as Kishis. People are meeting as Kikuyus. And we are sharing the resources of the country, the positions and everything, purely on ethnic lines. But the interesting thing is that in all these scenarios, we will see, in my view, losers and winners. We will see heroes and villains. We will see culprits and victims. So it depends on which side are you as an individual Deba, Prof here, and many of us here. And it boils down to what Prof was saying. Somebody has said, the more things change, the more they remain the same. The same.
All right. I don't know what has been your outlook, Dr. Kanenja?
The more
especially from the western region, where they are still asking for more, that they've not gotten their share as well as they should.
Maybe he has been lined up for a big position somewhere.
Well, no, I'm not so sure will become the next minister. I think the list has been completed.
They are just walking, nothing there.
Yes.
They are just walking.
The betting is not yet over. It begins tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I can't speak for the Western region as such, since I'm actually from the Rift Valley. So Rift Valley is pretty big. Now there's something, perhaps to make a comment on in the Western region. I think prior to Gen Z, there was a movement called the Tawe movement. And the Tawe movement was directed at trying to replace the old guard with the new sheriffs in town. And it came from a sense of dissatisfaction that I think people from that part of the world have felt that despite in terms of the population being the second largest ethnic group in the country, they've not gotten their fair share. And we know that we've been talking about post-tribal, post-ethnic politics and stuff like that. And that is fancy if perhaps someone comes from the two main groups that have ruled the country. The rest of Kenya does not exactly feel that way, and that's actually the truth. And so this is a feeling that has been seething among them, not to mention they've always felt they've been used as a vessel to support others into power, but then that the ones who've had a chance to serve in government, they've not been able to provide the kind of goodies that are necessary, and they've been a lot more self-serving. And I think that is why the Tawe movement, became very, very popular. But then it expanded because it was also a demonstration of dissatisfaction with the status quo of the current politicians in the region as well as across the country. And I suspect if Gen Z didn't happen and whatever the current discourse is going on, the Tawe movement, even these people who didn't know what it meant, it was becoming increasingly popular actually, across the country. Now, of course, we're still waiting to see how the people who are going to be vetted, if they're going to pass the litmus test. But I think fundamentally, one message that needs to be sent, to the Kenyan public is that as government, we are serious and leadership is serious in moving the direction in which there's going to be a lot more accountability and a lot more responsibility. Now, there is a likelihood that some of the candidates who will be nominated, may prove to be too controversial in certain quarters. But again, at the end of the day, the president has the prerogative to pick, who, or to nominate, who they feel is going to contribute to the agenda. So we cannot choose for him. What is important at the current, within the current context is the actions we undertake and the manner in which we also communicate to Kenya it's not just having implications to our cohesion, but it's also having implications to how we are viewed in the region and in the world. And how we are viewed in the region, in the world, affects our fortunes and our ability to be able to advance our national, our regional as well as our national interests. And even with this week, we were able to submit our application formally for Baba to join the African Union, for the African Union Commission's seat. And how we manage things here is actually going to have an impact on how the rest of Africa is going to see us and whether they're going to move ahead, to endorse our position. And so I think we really have to be careful and be cognizant that we don't live in a silo, we live in a world, and that perhaps it's about time we start listening to each other, but also addressing each other's grievances.
Indeed. All right, and of course, we want to move on to other issues as well, but I can see, Hashi, you have something to say, but just briefly so that we can...
I think I should bring to the attention of my colleagues that Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, has just been assassinated in Iran.
Yes.
And that is, a political earthquake is going to happen over this news. Allah yarhama, the leader of Hamas was negotiating with the Israelis in Qatar over the peace deal. And this is now going to throw the entire peace arrangement in the Middle East up in the air. And that is going to affect the American elections. Because one of the things that we know is that the current vice president to Mr. Biden is the front runner of the Democratic Party. And the most important message that she has for the Democratic base is that there's going to be an end to the destruction of the Palestinian people. And that, with the assassination debacle of this man, is now a game changer in international relations and in the elections in the United States. And I thought I should bring that to our attention.
Yes, noted that, and we shall also just pick up that in the course of the program. But bring it on. Those are the exact words from Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's political allies following renewed plans to impeach him, while dismissing all the allegations of undermining the president and opposing government plans. The allies, led by Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga, argue that it is just a political plot to undermine the status of the deputy president and that they will not bow to pressure. And as our senior political affairs reporter, Chris Thairo, informs us, there are reports that 3 senior staff members in the office of the deputy president who are being probed over the allegations of funding the ongoing, or are being probed over the allegations of funding the ongoing protests.
Claims of a plot to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is no longer regarded as a rumor. Reports indicate that a plan has been hatched targeting the DP, with his allies coming out in the open, guns blazing over his plot.
That is an affront towards the mountain, and it is really an attack on us as a people. And we will not take it lying, but it has its consequences. Whoever feels that that is the way to go, we kindly tell them, bring it on.
This time, President Wikarathi. Which were my gaps?
According to Gachagua's allies, all allegations leveled against him, including undermining his boss, President William Ruto, and even opposing government positions during cabinet meetings, are frivolous and are aimed at assassinating his character.
The finance bill, I think we should be clapping for that man, because the finance bill ultimately was rejected by Kenyans. And it says he has a connection with the ground, as opposed to those people who went to parliament to represent people, but no longer represent people, but represent an individual who tells them what to do. This is very, very unfortunate.
President varavara engagement issue na from ya mobada.
Sources intimate to KTN News that those pushing for Gashagua's exit majority hail from Mount Kenya with an aim of inheriting the seat in case the DP is shown the door.
But I would want to say that as a wise politician, I do not see the president going along that kind of way.
The deputy president has planned to go live on all vernacular TV radio stations from Mount Kenya region this Sunday to clear the air on all controversies aimed at his political career.
We are honest, straightforward people. The only thing we hate is betrayal. That we hate. Sisi ni marafiki wazuri.
This evening, as reports arrived that some senior officials in the office of the deputy president are being probed over allegations of funding the ongoing anti-government protest. There are also talks that Soni's office could be starved of funds, as it was the case during the former regime between retired President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then deputy president William Ruto. How far can the center hold? Chris Dairu, KTN News, Nairobi.
And trouble appears to be trailing the ruling UDA party after one of its founder members, that is John Halende, visited party headquarters and declared himself as a new party secretary general. Halende castigated the current secretary general, Cleopas Malala, accusing him of convening a Luhya assembly to speak against President Ruto's broad-based government. According to Halende, Malala has been going against the national interests of the party.
Clearly, one Cleophas Malala has joined our opponent. He is supporting the Tawe movement. He is supporting agendas that contradict the ruling party. He has gone against our party leader. He is on the forefront against the formation of broad-based government. And I'm here to confirm that he is no longer the Secretary General of UDA. Going forward, UDA party is going back to its members. UDA party was formed as people-centered party. It was not formed on individual within the party. We were formed as UDA to ensure that if we take over power, we initiate the bottom-up economic principle. But clearly, Cleophas Malala has gone against UDA party.
Now the president has nominated the final two to his new cabinet, if approved by Parliament. Dorcas Odor has been nominated to replace Justin Muturi as the new Attorney General. Odor is currently the Secretary of Public Prosecutions and the Principal Deputy to the Director of Public Prosecutions. She is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and she holds a Master's of Arts in International Conflict Management from the University of Nairobi, a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Nairobi and a diploma in law from Kenya School of Law. She has previously served in various capacities, among them Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Head of Economic, International and Emerging Crimes Department, and the Deputy Chief State Counsel. And as State Counsel at the Office of the Attorney General, Beatrice Askul Moe has also been nominated to the Ministry of East Africa Community Affairs and Regional Development, has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Sciences from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa and is currently undertaking a master's degree in governance and ethics. The social scientist and a consultant previously served as the County Executive Committee member in charge of water, irrigation, agriculture and land reclamation at the county government of Turkana. Moe has also previously served as a director to the Rift Valley Water Services Board, chairperson of the Technical Committee of the Rift Valley Water Services Board, chairperson of the Audit Committee of the Rift Valley Water Services Board, project officer at the AMREF Kenya Turkana project and relief officer for the Oxfam Turkana Relief Program. All right. Still on party politics, ODM leader Raila Odinga is facing a political implosion in the party as members jostle for top key position both in the party and in parliament. This is after key holders were nominated by President William Ruto to serve in his cabinet. As senior political affairs reporter Jeff Kirui reports, members are seriously lobbying as regional politics takes center stage.
Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining.
When President William Ruto raided Raila Odinga's ODM party and nominated his allies to the cabinet, it marked the beginning of political infighting within the Orange Party as jostling to replace the nominees who hold key positions gain momentum. The nomination of Hassan Ali Joho to the Ministry of Mining and Wycliffe Oparanya to cooperatives meant that they will vacate the positions of deputy party leaders that they are holding. They plan to fill the vacant positions already in top gear, with party leader Raila Odinga having held a meeting with two front runners to deputize. Kisii Governor Simba Arati is said to be eyeing position occupied by Wycliffe Oparanya, while Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Nasir is scheduled to take over from his predecessor Hassan Ali Joho. However, the proposed names have already unsettled a section of members from the Western region who want one seat of the deputy party leader to remain in the region, with Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi eyeing the seat.
Party leader, Nyanza. The deputy party leader, Atoke Nyanza. And then now come to parliament, come to National Assembly, minority leader, Nyanza. Whip, minority whip, Nyanza. And then the other things, it won't look nice. And the two seats they have gotten in the cabinet.
President Ruto also raided the ODM party leadership in the National Assembly with the appointment of Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi to the energy docket. His position in the National Assembly already a subject of fierce contest, with several political heavyweights eyeing the seat. Rarieda MP Otienda Amollo, Suba North MP Millie Odhiambo, Semes James Nyikal, Nyando's Jared Okello, and his Embakasi East counterpart Babu Wino are already pitching for the position. In John Mbadi's appointment to the National Treasury Ministry, the position of the chairperson of the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee fronts another contest. Saboti MP Caleb Amis is taking a claim on it.
I think that should be number one. People who have shown consistency. Like you see now, me, I come from a very anti-ODM region and I've delivered twice. And I've never wavered. Even when others have gone, I've always stood with the party position. I've supported it. I've had one of the biggest rallies in that region.
Mbadi also held the position of the national chairperson of ODM party, which has attracted Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang and Makadara MP George Aladwa. Raila Odinga is also faced with the decision of who will be the party's Secretary of Political Affairs, a post which Wandayi occupied alongside the minority leader slot. Jeff Kirui, KTN News.
Well, to matters religion right now, where all religious institutions, including churches, mosques and temples, will have to register afresh once a report on religious organizations submitted to President William Ruto is adopted by the government. The report has also recommended that all religious institutions should file annual tax returns. And for those that will fail to do so, for 3 consecutive years, they should be cancelled. Our reporter David Mudoka looks at the report that was submitted to the head of state.
It will not be worship as usual in all churches, mosques and temples in the country once a report submitted to President William Ruto on Tuesday by the Reverend Mutava Musiemi-led task force is implemented. In what will be a radical surgery to the religious sector, the report has recommended that all religious organizations in the country should be registered afresh, with the registration process timed to take place for only 1 year. According to the report, religious institutions which do not register within a year will be deemed unlawful. The report has proposed that a Religious Affairs Commission be established to conduct the registration exercise. During the registration, religious institutions will be required to submit an appropriate name, the constitution of the religious institution, whose template the Religious Affairs Commission will come up with. Other requirements will include police clearance certificates and tax compliance or exemption certificates of the institution's office bearers, as well as a recommendation letter from the institution's umbrella organization. The process will not be a walk in the park for religious institutions that will submit offensive, vague, deceptive, or confusing names. Religious institutions that have a connection with a political organization or which the Religious Affairs Commission will be apprehensive that they will disrupt national security, and religious institutions that will submit false information. According to the Reverend Mutava Musiemi report, such institutions will be notified of their unsuccessful registration within 28 days. The rest of the institutions that will be successfully registered will be required to thereafter file annual returns with the Kenya Revenue Authority with details as to their membership, contacts, physical residence, audited financial statements, all activities of the religious institution, both charitable and non-charitable, any commercial venture of the religious institution, and sources of funds. According to the report, every religious institution shall at least once in every year hold an annual general meeting where the officials shall render a full and true account of the monies received and paid by the religious institution, and members shall be accorded opportunity to elect or appoint officials, trustees, or auditors or other office bearers. The Religious Affairs Commission shall erase the name of a religious institution from the Book of Registered Religious Institutions and write it on the Book of Unlawful Religious Institutions if it discovers its registration was obtained through misrepresentation or non-disclosure of material facts, or if the institution fails to file tax returns for 3 consecutive years. The report submitted to President William Ruto comes more than a year after the head of state picked the Mutava Musiemi-led task force to look into gaps into laws governing religious institutions so as to avert another Shakahola.
This report is very important to us as a nation. It is very important to me as a leader who values religion. And therefore, we will be taking the next steps in making sure that the good work you have done so far translates into what will do 2 very important things for us.
The report, which is in the form of the Religious Organizations Bill of 2024, will now be forwarded to Parliament for debate, and after which members of Parliament will vote on its fate. David Muthoka, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, and that also will form a basis for us to take a short break. As you can see, that is a story that you want to follow inside the Standard today. Taming false prophets, religion on trial. Government is introducing radical measures that seeks to put an end to cultism, devil worship, and nefarious religious activities being pushed by men and women of dubious character.